I was so small that I kept having infections, like staph infections, because it wouldn't, even if I moved an inch, it would rip open. So I was literally in the hospital for about 6 weeks. They took out part of my large, part of my small. They took a kidney out because when it was hanging out, they couldn't save it. Like, I guess it's hanging out, it dies. So I mean, that I to this day I don't know who called the ambulance. I never found that out. But that was my first, and I do remember I wasn't really religious leading up to that point. But I do remember a silence. I remember seeing a light, and I remember seeing gold streaks, and then I remember seeing my mama's face. So then I wake up and I'm like, okay, so maybe that was a glimpse of heaven, or that was my mom, saying I was all right. That gave me a lot of mental trauma because, even to this day, I don't like looking at knives. Like, that's going to be a permanent thing. Um, and then I literally dropped out of school, um, continued to be on the streets because dumb kid don't learn. He almost died. He's going to go back to the streets. 6 months after that, I get shot in the leg. That wasn't as bad as getting stabbed. I mean, there was no exit room on the shot because I guess according to the doctor, the bullets slowed down from the time it entered my leg and it's resting on my femur. But I did have to learn to walk again because it destroyed my leg. That's why when I walk to the ring, it's not a swagger. It's because I have a limp, but I'm trying to like hide it by walking funny on purpose. But that's because I'm bow-legged because my leg got destroyed by the bullet. So after those two events, then I was like, okay, I cheated death twice. I'm not trying to. Third time I might not be so lucky. So what do I have to do to make sure I don't go back to the streets? So I literally turned my phone off, disassociate myself from the people I was talking to. I'm like, okay, I've always loved wrestling. Is there a chance? At the time it was WWF with The Rock and Stone Cold. I'm like, is there a chance that I could be a guy that I've been grew up watching? And I was about 15 and a half. I found a local spot called Southside Pro Wrestling in Birdneck. So I dropped by there, and at the time, they went to Buffalo Wild Wings because they like to show the, honestly, I'm trying to like be a dick here, but like, if you go to Buffalo Wild Wings and they're indie fed and they're trying to sell your stuff on a pay-per-view night, nobody's going to watch it. So it's like I went there to have my wings to watch my backlash, and then, oh, snap, wrestling. Let me go to holler at him. I said, how much do you charge a month for wrestling class? He said $250 a month. I'm like, I don't have $250. I don't even have a job. So I remember I went home, sold all my video games, donated blood, went house to house, cleaning houses, cleaning bathrooms. I ended up making about $400 when it was all said and done. And that was enough to pay for 2 months worth of classes. So I literally sold my blood to make money. And I told the trainer my life story, and he's like, hey, kid, like, don't tell people I'm doing this, but I'll cut your tuition. I'm like, thank God. So he cut me a little break, and that's how I got my start. And I trained for 2 different schools, and the rest was history. But literally, wrestling gave me a reason to stay off the streets. It literally saved my life. So it's like part of me, and then, when my first week there, I'm like, this is not what I expected. You got people, hey, Irv, did you hear what this guy said? Hey, Irv, did you hear what this guy said? Oh, don't do that. You can't be that. I'm like, this is just like school, and people were picking on me, only worse. So, I mean, it was a rude awakening, but that's where my mentality, like, sharpened up was before I got in wrestling, dealing with gangs. Like, I was like, okay, last time I checked, I'm going to control my own life. I'm the only person that's going to get me out of this, make something of myself. So, anytime I see somebody saying, oh, you can't do this, I'm like, watch. Like, that's where that mentality stays with me. Like, people would be like, you're never going to be nothing more than a wrestler. Well, now I'm doing motivational speaking. Now I work 2 jobs. I mean, I'm doing what I got to do. Every time someone tells me I ain't doing something, I'm going to do it. And if anything, if it ain't for me, I'm definitely going to do it for my mom, because I did make her a promise before she passed that I'd be a pro wrestler. So that's a big reason why I had to do it.
Bro, I haven't heard your whole story before. That's amazing.
Yeah, I used to be scared, like, to tell my story because it's really graphic. But anytime you see that scar on my stomach, that's when they stuck me. And then I got a hole in my leg, like in the front. That's where they got me with the bullets. And it's like, if I survive a knife, 2 knives, and a bullet, what else? Nothing else can really stop me. Like, mentally, that's about as bad as you can get.
I think a bazooka would just like bounce off of you.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, at a young age, I can understand getting stuck up at 20, but 14 or 15, 6 months apart. That's insane.
Bro, I love how you have, I mean, from where you were to where you're at today, you've created an awesome life for yourself. And I find that a lot of the kids that I work with around the country that I've worked with, they don't necessarily always find what you have, which it's a huge blessing because you, at some point you woke up and you're like, you know what? I don't want this life anymore. I want something different. So how do I turn off my phone? How do I go get new friends? How do I surround myself and go after something? I find that so many people are distracted today on social media and they're not focused on, what they want to create. They're focused on other people's lives instead of their own life.
And it's definitely disappointing because I will never be the guy to discredit or say this guy can't be this or this girl can't. Listen, if you got passion, you got a heart, you got arms and legs, you can do whatever you want. It might take some time, but it's going to happen. That's why nothing pisses me off when I see somebody who's really – everybody's talented in a sense. Everybody either finds what they're good at, finds what they're meant to do, and most people don't. But everybody is capable of being whatever they want to be. But nothing pisses me off more when I see somebody with all the potential in the world, but they're too damn lazy to go out and get it. Like, just today I had this girl that's like, I want to be a doctor. Okay, you're smart as hell. Why ain't you a doctor? He's like, because it's too much work, it's too much work. I said, everything is in life is a work. You have to, no pun intended, everything is a work in progress. You got to go out and get it. Ain't nothing going to come easy. You know what I'm saying? How you think, that's why when people shit on billionaires and millionaires, how do you think they become millionaires? It's because they worked hard. Everybody in some way has worked hard. Even if that person didn't make the billion themselves and their parents, guess what? Their parents worked hard. So it's like you got to have this mentality of what do I got to do to succeed? Because you never know. Tomorrow I might not be here. You know what I'm saying? So you got to just wake up and be like, all right, how do I make today the best I'll be? And, I'm about to get a little personal here for a second. Not you probably haven't been paying attention to me like this much, but I just recently broke it off with my girl simply because we were on two ends of the spectrum. She was complacent and content with mediocrity in terms of she's a hard worker, but our vision wasn't the same. I'm more of a go-getter. She's more content on just chilling. And I'm like, I don't have time to chill. I mean, you have a daughter. I'm trying to provide for her daughter, and she's just chilling. I was like, this ain't gonna work. If I'm dating you, you got to put just as much work in as I am. It's called teamwork. That's how relationships blossom. That's how we can sit back and enjoy and say, wow, we did this together. We bought this house together. We bought these cars together. If it's just going to be me and it's going to be riding free, I'm not down with that.
So it's interesting. I find in relationships or partnerships, saying like a lot people, that I've talked to, male and female, they're like, oh no, like some people are like, oh, it's relationship's a relationship, and some people like actually it's a partnership. You're in it financially, emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally, politically, like everything's tied in to a relationship partnership kind of thing. And I find that there's I mean, I always look at like 5 things, right? Like first is like vision. Do you want the same thing?
Yeah.
Second is purpose. Like, do you live on purpose? And what is your purpose for life? Is it to, sit around? Is it to work hard and then, just work hard while you're working hard? Or is it to really go out there and work hard for your future? And then your game plan, your mission, stuff like that. And then the last 2 things are the hardest, I think, is like, what's your team look like in life? Because you surround yourself with some really good people. And then the last one I believe is the most important, which is commitment. Because if you can't commit 100%, then you're not committed. I mean, you and I both know if you're not committed to pro wrestling, I mean, I didn't win $1 Million Tough Enough on WWE because I was 90% committed. I won because at that point in my life, I was 100% committed to what I knew. Absolutely. And obviously I learned from that, and I see things now that, I mean, I'm when you say successful per se, I'm way more successful today than I was way back then because I understood how to grow my commitment. I understood how to build my future, and really fall through and work my butt off and get what I wanted. So it's just interesting to be able to see, what's possible, and then how we grow and we look back and we're like, wow, like I was at like a 6 of what I am today, or I was at like a 2 of what my potential was. How do you surround yourself? How do you build the people in your life? Like, what do you look for?
Well, I was getting ready to get to that. That's kind of how me and you popped off, because we're both positive people and we set goals. It wasn't just because I shot you a DM. I've always believed in people placing each other's lives for a reason. I mean, obviously, we're cool because we both have the same mindset mentally. And when we went back to relationships, I mean, I didn't plan on bringing that up, but the truth is, relationships are teamwork. They are, 50-50. And it's like, she's a beautiful woman. She's a nice woman, but mentally, she didn't cut it for me. And it's like, sometimes you got to make those tough decisions. If you think somebody's holding you down and you think someone ain't going to match the energy, it's time for them to go. So it's like, I don't have nobody in my circle that don't have the same mentality I do. I mean, that's why the older I get, I only surround myself with older people, or people who know what it's like to hustle. I mean, this younger generation are so self-entitled, it makes me sick. Like, I had this one kid's like, I want a Bentley. His parents, was like, I'm gonna get you a Jeep, and he threw a fit. Man, you know what? When I was your age, you know what give to have that Jeep? I was walking. I remember the days where I didn't have a car and I was walking with a heavy ass gym bag on my back and like feet of snow, and I'd trip every couple footsteps. I walked and feet of snow just to get to the gym to better myself for wrestling. People don't want to, a lot of people don't like to hustle like that. Like, it's just, so when you ask me who I surround myself with, I only surround myself with people that have goals, that are, hungry for success. You know what I'm saying? And the people that ain't hungry for success, they can't rock with me, because I don't got time to be slowed down. I can show you the way. I can tell you, hey, do this, but it's up to that person to take my advice. Even with motivational speaking, I can't make somebody change. People want to look at my story like, damn, this kid literally went from rags. I ain't gonna say riches because I'm far from rich, but I made something for myself. And everybody has the ability to do that if they put in the work, because this type of stuff is a slow build. It ain't gonna come fast. You gotta be patient.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. I think that I like the growth. Like, I like your growth from when you were younger to today, because it's like a bigger span of growth. For instance, like there was more obstacles that you had to go through than I think a lot of kids in America. But a lot of kids in America had one or two pieces of that. They maybe had, a mother, not a father. They maybe had vice versa. They maybe had grandparents. What does the future look like? Like what kind of father, what kind of family, what kind of since you didn't have certain things, how do you look at what you want in the future of what you want, and what you're going to design for your family and your friends and that sort of thing?
Well, when it comes to my family personally, I know I would like to have some kids. Just need to make sure it's with the right one, and hopefully my wife or fiance, whatever, has the same goals as I do. As far as me being a dad, I just want to be everything that my father was not. I want to be able to be in my kids' lives, take them to the park, be there for my birthdays, because I didn't have that. I had a mom, and that was it. And then she passed away, and literally from 14 on, I had to teach myself. And unfortunately for me, I did it the wrong way for a lot of my years, and I paid the price for it mentally and physically. And I want to make sure my kids don't have to go through that. Every mistake I've made, I want to make sure my son or daughter doesn't make mistakes I made, because that's a few years I can't get back in my life because I was messing up. So like, my goals is to keep blossoming, maybe own, I would like to open my own gym eventually, maybe get certified in, stage 2, stage 3 personal training, go the fitness route, maybe drop some supplements. I mean, I got a lot of different ideas. I mean, I'd love to get into acting again. So it's like, maybe move to Tampa where all my friends are. So it's like, I just want to keep succeeding. If I get signed, I get signed. If I don't, I don't. But regardless what happens in wrestling, at the end of the day, my main goal in pro wrestling is for people to know, hey, I know who Urban Legend is. even if I don't get that contract, I still want the world to know, oh, I know this guy. I know where he came from. So I feel